Morning, and welcome to the next series of our regular Grove Chapel devotions, which will be put on the YouTube Grove Chapel Camberwell channel from time to time. If you look, roughly twice a week. The aim is to have these on Wednesdays and Fridays. There may be a bit of alteration in that, but if you've subscribed to the YouTube channel, you should see these popping up on your phone or whatever. What are we going to do over these next few weeks and maybe months? Well, we're going to start a series in John's Gospel, some devotional talks from that fourth Gospel written by the Apostle John. And you may know, you may not know, that there's a particular way in which Jesus often speaks in that fourth Gospel, in John's Gospel. And he uses a form of words which translates truly, truly, or I tell you the truth, or if you go back to the authorized version, verily, verily, I say unto thee. Well, the Greek of the New Testament in John's Gospel uses the form of words amen, amen. And there are 25 sayings of Jesus where he begins in this way, truly, truly. Now, what's he getting at when he says truly, truly? We could think of it perhaps in modern day English as saying something like this: listen up, listen carefully. You need to pay particular attention to what I'm about to say. This is especially important. You need to know this. But listen up, which will be the title of these 25 short YouTube broadcasts, is as good as anything, I think, in today's English. So let's say nothing more about that for now, but let's look at the first of these 25 verses, and I'll read a little bit of the passage leading up to that verse, and it's John chapter 1, verses 43 to 51 that we read. John chapter 1, verses 43 to 51. The next day, Jesus decided to go to Galilee. He found Philip and said to him, "Follow me." Now Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, "We have found him of whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." Nathanael said to him, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" Philip said to him, "Come and see." Jesus saw Nathanael coming towards him and said of him, "Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit." Nathanael said to him, "How do you know me?" Jesus answered him, "Before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you." Nathanael answered him, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." Jesus answered him, "Because I said to you, I saw you under the fig tree, do you believe? You will see greater things than these." And he said to him, "Truly, truly, I say to you, you will see heaven opened, and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man." Now, what's going on here? We're in the early days of the ministry of Jesus. In fact, John the Baptist, in many ways, is still the main public figure in Israel and Judah at this time. And Jesus is just, in a sense, breaking onto the scene. But Jesus has already a few followers, Peter and Andrew and Philip, and we assume from John chapter 1 that John himself is already one of those disciples. And now we read of this man called Nathanael. And Nathanael is introduced to Jesus by Philip. And Philip says to Nathanael, we've found the one that we've been looking for. We found the one that Moses and the prophets have been writing about. We found Jesus from Nazareth. Now that, you see, is what makes Nathanael react. Nazareth. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? We would understand that Nathanael thought that Nazareth was a town of ill repute. There seems to be indications elsewhere in the Gospels that that's exactly what they thought. Nazareth is nowhere. Nazareth is nothing good can come out of there. Later on in John's Gospel, you have the chief priests and the elders saying, if you look in the scriptures, you don't find that any prophet comes out of Nazareth. No Messiah comes out of Nazareth. So there is Nathanael. He's speaking honestly. He's speaking from the heart. And that is something that Jesus seems to notice about him. Because when Jesus sees Nathanael coming towards him, he says, "Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit." Now, what's the sense of this? Throughout this passage, we have a very clear comparison between Nathanael and Jacob, going right back to the book of Genesis. Jacob, the father of the Israelite people, the one whose name actually became Israel. And if you think back to Jacob, what kind of man was he? He was a deceiver. He deceived his brother. He deceived his father. You could argue he deceived other members of his family later on. Jacob, Israel, had been a deceiver. Now Jesus sees in Nathanael somebody who clearly is not a deceiver, a man without any deceit or guile or hypocrisy. And this is one of many indications we have in John's Gospel that Jesus really knows what's in the human heart. And Nathanael is astounded by this. How do you know me? And Jesus says, well, I saw you under the fig tree. I saw you. And that is, to Nathanael, an understanding that Jesus can see right into his own heart. He can see things and know things when he wasn't even there. And Nathanael, this guileless, undeceitful Israelite, it doesn't mean, by the way, that he is sinless. Clearly, he's not sinless, but he's not a man with some big hidden agenda. He seems to speak from the heart. He speaks from the heart about his opinion of Nazareth. He speaks from the heart now about his view of Jesus. And he says something in verse 49 pretty amazing about Jesus. Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel. These are amazing titles, aren't they? No one's told Nathanael to say that. Philip didn't say, we found the Son of God, but Nathanael recognizes it. And Jesus, in verse 50, is really commending him. And he goes on to say to him, you're going to see even greater things than these. And we come to that saying in verse 51. Truly, truly, I say to you, listen up, listen carefully. This needs to be something that you give really careful attention to. What is it? Well, we could call it Stairway to Heaven. Some of you may know the very famous Led Zeppelin song, Stairway to Heaven. There's a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold, and she's buying the stairway to heaven. Well, what is the stairway to heaven? Can you buy it? Can we get hold of it? Where does it come from? And in verse 51, in this amazing saying, this first of 25 truly, truly sayings of Jesus, he is again taking us back to Jacob, to a second incident in the life of Jacob, where Jacob was running away from Esau, his brother, having deceived him, having cheated him out of his blessing and his birthright. He reaches a place where he lies down to sleep in the middle of the open country, and that night he has a vision. He dreams a dream. He has a vision of angels ascending and descending on, well, we think of it as a ladder, more like a staircase, maybe a ziggurat, a pyramid-like huge stone structure that you find in parts of the Middle East. Well, Jacob in this vision sees the angels going up and down from heaven to earth. God is in heaven, he's on the earth, people are on the earth, God's up there, and there are the angels going up and down and up and down. Now, that place, when Jacob woke up, he said, how amazing is this place? This is none other than the house of God. God was here. I wasn't expecting this. And he called that place Bethel, the house of God. Now, Jesus is saying to Nathanael, do you know something, Nathanael? That stairway to heaven is the Son of Man. Who's the Son of Man? Well, if we know our Gospels, we will know that Jesus, more often than perhaps any other title, refers to himself as the Son of Man. That means all kinds of things we haven't got time to go into today, but it certainly means this. Jesus is not only the son of David and the son of Abraham and the son of Jacob. He is not only a son of Israel, he is the Son of Man. He is that human representative. And if we were to go into Daniel 7, we would see that as the Son of Man, he has authority over all nations, all peoples, all tribes, all languages. But the big thing is this. Jesus Christ himself is that stairway between heaven and earth. It reminds us of what he goes on to say later on in the Gospel in chapter 14 and verse 6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except by me. Here is the point. How can we, anyone from any place, speaking any language, with any background, any education, any sort of life story that you have behind you or before you, how can you and me know God, be with God, find God, get to know God? Can we go up? Can we come down? Can God come down to us? Can we go up to him? Jesus says, I am the stairway to heaven. You will see, Nathanael, that I am the only way that you or anyone can know God is through knowing me, Jesus the Christ. Nathanael, in the other Gospels, is known as Bartholomew. We should be grateful for Nathanael. His little story here introduces the first of these listen up sayings that Jesus has here. So remember, today and every day, that Jesus is the only stairway, the only way that you and I can know God, find God, have peace with God, and be forgiven by God.